I feel like at some point he's gonna call me a clown. That's his like go-to.
I'll be like, that's me.
135 pounds, 135.1 is official.
It's different levels. You know what I mean? It's definitely different levels when you come.
Jake Paul has always been known for his confidence and drama, but recent clips of Gervonta Tank Davis's stronger, bulked-up body seem to have surprised him. As videos of a more muscular Davis spread online, fans started to think Paul might have underestimated how much Tank has changed. Davis, famous for his power and accuracy, now looks like a natural welterweight, showing he's not here for fun. He's here to win. People close to Paul say he's starting to feel the pressure, knowing this new version of Tank could be more dangerous than anyone expected. As the November 14th fight gets closer, fans and experts are shocked by Gervonta Davis's new look. Known for his power and short, solid build, the 5'5" lightweight has gained serious muscle, looking stronger, faster, and more dangerous than ever. During their tense face-off in Miami, where Davis shoved Jake Paul, the difference between their bodies was clear. Davis may be smaller, but now he looks like pure power. This has made people wonder if Jake Paul's confidence is starting to fade as he prepares to face a fighter who's not only skilled, but also more physically intimidating than before. Gervonta Davis has always been known for his power, speed, and smart fighting style, but his new physical transformation has taken him to another level. Recent photos and videos from training show him with more muscle, broader shoulders, and a tighter core, yet he's still just as quick and agile. This isn't just about looking strong. It's clear Davis is training to dominate when he steps into the ring.
Right? Who's not a professional fighter. What happens? What happens? That's what would sell it. I know the size difference is what creates the problem. The optics, the look, the reality. I mean, you got one guy who's fights at 135 pounds, and you got another guy who fights at 200. I mean, just that alone, yeah. But you also, and I'm not saying I want this or I like this when I heard it. No, I didn't like it, to be honest, for the optics and everything else I just said. But you do have one guy who, yeah, he's smaller, but he's a top fighter, he can punch, and he's fighting a guy who's not a top pro fighter, who's bigger. What if he hits him on the chin?
In a recent interview, the UFC bantamweight champion said clearly that Gervonta Davis is on a completely different level than Jake Paul when it comes to skill and fight IQ. He admitted that Paul has some physical advantages, but said they won't matter against an undefeated fighter like Tank, who's known for his knockout power. He also criticized the decision to make the fight an exhibition, saying it takes away the real competitive spirit of the match.
Think of him and Tank.
I enjoy these fucking stupid spectacles. I enjoy them. I'm excited for it. The controversy, the press conference, the weigh-ins. Imagine those two stand next to each other.
Yeah.
Dude, Jake is a Basically, like you two standing next to each other. Like if you guys stood up,
it
looks
is.
like that. Steiny's a little bit, I think, taller than Gervonta.
But I'm a feisty bro. It's not about the size of the dog. It's about the size of the what?
However, many people see this fight more as an entertainment event than a real boxing match. It has started debates about fairness, safety, and whether it's right to ignore the traditional weight class system that keeps boxing balanced.
Tank is not the guy that knows how to sell a fight. Tank cannot sell a fight in his own division. You have the Paul brothers and they come over to boxing. Their idea from day one is we don't have the skills or the experience. What we're gonna do is we'll take on the absolute best guys, but they're gonna spot us some pounds. Tank has one job to do, that it doesn't make any difference, that boxing is a real sport. My skills versus your skill, of which I am an abundance of and of which you have none of. Tank is telling anybody that will listen that there's a size problem. My skills and my experience in boxing, I do not have to wonder who's in the bar tonight. Any bar I go to, I rule the bar. No, it turns out that you don't. Just need some big guy to corner you. Apparently, boxing has never stood its ground. Boxing has never been able to explain why Floyd needed a half hour to get rid of a guy who's never boxed before. Tank Davis has already began this. When you choose a dum-dum, don't be surprised when he goes out and acts like a dum-dum.
Experts say most of Jake Paul's fights don't make much sense from a boxing point of view. They believe his matchups are made more for attention than real competition. Instead of facing opponents who match his style or weight, Jake often picks unusual fights. For many experts, this makes his bouts fun to watch, but not truly serious boxing matches.
Won the fight. But yeah, that was that. This time, Jake Paul is to take on Tank Davis. Tank Davis, he was recently in the news for being arrested for a domestic violence incident involving one of his kids' mother. He was alleged to have slapped her about the place. The charges were later dropped, to be fair to him. But yeah, that was when he was last in the news. What is interesting is just a couple of months ago, Tank Davis was saying openly that he'd lost his passion for boxing and that he wanted time away from the sport. There was speculation that he might even retire as he was experiencing extreme mental fatigue from boxing, depression, and there were mental health concerns over him. However, I guess the opportunity to earn a truck full of money, fighting a completely worthless exhibition fight against Jake Paul was enough to make him change his mind about boxing. Funny that, isn't it? But you know what? I'm not even going to waste your time or mine critiquing this utter nonsense. Suffice to say that this so-called fight we're talking about is an exhibition, and it pits Jake Paul, who is a cruiserweight, by the way, weighs in excess of 200 pounds. And Tank Davis, who is, he was the WBA lightweight champion, who weighs in at about 135 pounds when he fights. So that's a disparity of some 65 pounds. In old money, that's about 4.5 stone. There's also a significant difference in height. Jake Paul is roughly, 6'1", 2. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" at best.
Jake Paul weighed 199.5 pounds as a cruiserweight, while Gervonta Tank Davis last fought at 133.5 pounds as a lightweight. This huge weight difference led the Georgia State Athletic Commission to reject the original venue for safety reasons, forcing the fight to move to Miami. Even though the exhibition now has a 195-pound limit, Davis's stronger and bigger body shows he's trying to close the gap. Still, Paul has a clear size advantage, which could affect power and durability in the ring. It's truly a battle of size versus skill, one of the most unusual matchups in modern boxing.
Those little teeny-weeny dudes. So that's going to be very fun and interesting to watch how that goes down. Now, on the other side, what Jake Paul's going to do. He don't have no consciousness. He doesn't have a conscience about what he's trying to do. He's going to go in there and try to hurt a 60-year-old Mike Tyson. He don't care. He wanted to, he's way bigger than Nate Jones when he fought Nate Jones. You think he didn't care about hitting Nate Jones upside the head. He's definitely going to be looking to try to get as much as he can get off on Gervonta Davis and I see him trying to run up on him, trying to maul him, trying to grab him, trying to club him, trying to do all kind of craziness, man. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch. Now, let me tell you what I really hope, and I haven't seen for this particular card, but I know that I know it's going to be good, which is the undercard. The undercard for the Canelo Alvarez fight and Terrence Crawford fight is absolutely horrendous. There's nothing on the thing that would make you want to watch to tune into that thing 2 seconds before the fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford takes place. There's nothing on that card. So this fight for Gervonta or this exhibition for Gervonta and Jake Paul is probably going to have a lot of MVP fighters on there.
Ryan Garcia compared this fight to past controversial boxing events, like when Mike Tyson took part in exhibitions that fans never really wanted. Garcia said people don't want to see Davis fight Jake Paul either, but boxing often moves forward with these kinds of money-driven shows anyway. He pointed out that Davis is much smaller than Paul, making the fight unfair from the beginning. Still, Garcia believes fans will have to accept it because the hype and money behind it are too strong to stop.
Well, that's a fucking disgrace of a fight.
Yeah.
You know it. Just like the Mike Tyson, low-key was a disgrace, but we accepted it. But
yeah,
he was 60 years old. I mean, the casuals don't see the weight difference. They see Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis.
Yeah.
And if Gervonta Davis doesn't fuck up Jake Paul, they're going to think Jake Paul is some pound-for-pound champion type of fighter.
Yeah.
Gervonta Davis, he's actually really small. Like, when I fought him, he's small.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a very unfair fight.
Former world champion Carl Froch didn't hold back, calling the whole situation a complete joke. He said that talks for a Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight were almost done, with the deal nearly 99% complete. But instead of facing a heavyweight like Joshua, Jake chose to fight Gervonta Davis, who is almost half his size. Froch said this move shows Jake cares more about shock value and attention than real competition.
Davis is now fighting Jake Paul. So Jake Paul was supposed to be fighting AJ. Eddie Hearn announced 99% done, which we've just spoke about. What next for AJ? Potentially Jake Paul. But it now looks like that Jake Paul is fighting one of Anthony Joshua's legs. He's fighting Gervonta Davis, somebody who's a quarter of his size. I don't even know what's going on. Has Eddie Hearn been played? Let me know what you think. But the AJ fight with Jake Paul's finished. Gervonta Davis, fake Paul, November. I don't know what's going on in the world of boxing. This is an absolute joke. What next for AJ? We'll get into this, and there's so many questions I want to get into in the next episode. But I hope you enjoyed this one. And yeah, I just thought I'd give you a quick update because the news has just come in and I'm just trying to relax and play a bit of golf and I can't. I've got to get it off my chest. I'm going to add it to this video. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget, if you haven't already, hit like, share and subscribe to the best channel in the business, Froch on Fighting, and we'll see you very soon.
Three-division undisputed champion Terrence Crawford has serious doubts about the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight. He sees it more as a fancy sparring session than a real contest because of the big size difference. Crawford admits Davis is an explosive and skilled boxer, but he's concerned that Paul's larger frame gives him a big advantage. He believes that if Paul lands a clean punch, his power and reach could quickly change the direction of the fight.
Jake Paul versus Tank Davis, they just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in from that jab. Jake land one good punch on Tank, it's over with.
Jake Paul has been changing boxing in his own unique way. By investing his own money into promotion, big events, and dramatic storylines, he has turned what many once called a joke into something that's shaking up the sport. His financial power not only creates big fights, but also draws new fans and massive media attention. While traditional boxing fans may not like his approach, there's no denying the results. More viewers, bigger paydays, and new excitement in a sport that needed it. The fact that this unexpected fight is happening shows how far Paul will go to break the rules and turn his bold dreams into reality.
Perspective. But again, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. And we've seen that Jake will kind of bounce in between doing these entertainment fights and then, trying to push toward his goal of ingraining himself in the sport of boxing, and kind of does both of them. So it's kind of a weird place to be because he wants the respect of the boxing fans and the boxing hierarchy and hardcore boxing people, but at the same time, he'll gain some of that and then lose some of it. It's like a seesaw of his fights. Like one fight and be like, okay, that's a real fight, or that's a real fight. And he'll go and he'll win the fight. Julio Cesar Chavez, real fighter, maybe past his prime, whatever, but Jake goes and wins that fight pretty easily, and then gets a lot of respect, gets a lot of the boxing hardcore love. And you have these talks about him fighting Anthony Joshua, and that was going to get even more respect. More people were like, that's fucking crazy. What are you doing? Myself included. That seemed like a massive risk, but a lot of people were like, okay, fair play. Anthony Joshua, that's a real heavyweight. Jake wants to fight him. He's a psycho, but fair play. And then you announce this one, and it's like, well, that's the same thing people have been saying about Jake for years, so it's a weird spot to be in for him for sure. But I talked about this not being the first choice, and I don't think it was, because Coppinger reports next that talks for Jake Paul to face Anthony Joshua collapsed over network issues. Now, we had all heard the talks, and they were pretty public, from Eddie Hearn, from Jake. Nakisa Badarian, Jake's manager, was over in the UK on, I think, Sky Sports, talking about the fight and saying how it was a real possibility and they were really starting to work on it.
On the other hand, experts like Wade Plem believe Jake Paul has brought new life to boxing by attracting people who never cared about the sport before. He says Jake's biggest impact is with younger fans who enjoy entertainment-based fights more than traditional ones. Even though it's controversial, Plem thinks growing boxing's popularity is more important than worrying about purity. Vargas Jr. agrees, saying the surprise factor makes the fight exciting. He admits the matchup is unexpected, but that's exactly what keeps fans interested. Whether people like it or not, the shock and unpredictability make it worth talking about.
So I think that the Misfits brings a different element. Obviously, there's chaos and all of these things, and it's not the most buttoned up and it's not the most high level, but there are moments where you have some really competitive fights. And even with the Jake and Gervonta thing, it's like, is it the best thing for boxing? That's boxing's fault, right? Like, if you're going to complain about it, point the finger the other way, because everybody else did it. You guys put yourselves in this position where these kind of fights are more interesting than some of your world title fights. And that's really, really sad, I know, but that's where we're at. And is it Jake's fault for being like, yeah, this is what people want to see, I'm going to do it? Is it Gervonta Davis's fault? Maybe a little bit, because he's a world champion. Give up your belt. To me, it should be give your belt up, right? You're saying to the world, you don't want to fight Shakur Stevenson, you don't want to fight Lamont Roach, so give the belt up. That's fine. Go do that. Okay. Say you're done at the highest level. Say you have no interest in being a world champion, and I'm okay with it. But outside of that, man, I mean, it's a money fight and it's an exhibition. Everybody, I think, kind of knows what that brings in. So, yeah, I don't really have a problem with it, but at the same time, boxing needs to get its stuff together, so this isn't the most popular thing, you know?
BJ Flores believes Jake Paul's fight with Gervonta Davis is a smart move in his boxing journey. He says Jake's body and natural strength fit better in the cruiserweight or heavyweight divisions, but facing a skilled and respected fighter like Tank Davis helps build his credibility. According to Flores, this fight isn't just about money. It's a strategic step to gain more attention and prepare for bigger challenges ahead. He sees it as a way for Jake to raise his profile and move toward tougher and more meaningful fights in the future.
It's a funny story. So one of my good friends, Armani, he has been working with Jake Paul for the last 2 years. There was a little time where Shane wasn't there with Jake, and Armani called me up and said, hey, BJ, will you come down to Big Bear and spar with Jake? And I'm like, you want me to spar with Jake? I'm thinking to myself, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, he's beating up all his sparring partners. Come, I was like, all right. I mean, fine, I'll go down there and do it. I have been inactive. I haven't done anything for like 8 months. But I was like, okay, I'll go down there. So we spar a couple times. After that, they decided I was too big for him. And, it's better if we just, not do it. And, then they asked me if I would be interested in like working the mitts with him and helping him with the combinations, because I was hitting him with some combinations they hadn't seen before. And I said, we can teach him all those things and have him doing all those things. And so I started working the mitts with him and helping him out on the mitts. And he told his trainers and everybody, they're like, man, I want BJ around for the entire camp, because I'm getting better. My job is like Shane does the advice in the corner and I do the mitts.
Meanwhile, Jake Paul answered the growing criticism about his fight with Gervonta Davis in his usual flashy style. He smashed a tank-shaped cake, symbolizing his plan to destroy Tank Davis. The stunt was clearly staged to mock Davis and grab attention, showing Jake's talent for turning drama into publicity. Instead of letting others control the story, he used this act to stay in the spotlight. It might seem childish, but in Jake's world, moments like this keep people talking. And that's exactly what he wants. Do you think Jake Paul can handle this stronger and more powerful version of Tank Davis? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and stay informed. Stay tuned for more updates, and let's keep our news accurate.